To order.
No, you're good.
No, I'm good. All right. Nikki, would you do the honors of roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Kim Pearson.
Here.
Justin Baston.
Here.
Catherine Witzman.
Here.
Brian Burney.
Here.
Megan Brewer and Susie Hiley are out tonight.
Beautiful. And can we do meeting minutes?
Ooh, good question. Who's here?
I was not here.
We're not here. Susie's gone. Catherine, Megan's gone.
We can hold them
Two.
till next meeting.
I think 3, right? 3 of 5? Is that enough?
Like 2. Justin would abstain, so you only
Yeah.
need 2 of you. And so we need 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
We'll just put.
Yeah, I can't vote, so.
Yeah. We'll put them on next month's meeting.
Okay. So that's done. Park director status.
Yeah. So I sent out the draft park director. I used Don't Reinvent the Wheel. I went on the Indiana Park and Rec Association, and I had a couple other friends send me park director job descriptions. So siphoned through those and found the stuff that made sense to us for where we're at and what we're trying to go for. We're not necessarily a recreation director as much as we are policies, procedures, and growth. So Catherine, you had a comment today.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention thinking up the role like for the future that the person will also have to come up eventually with branding, logo, and I think as we provide more activities and events, dedicated web pages from the McCordsville side or our own separate. So
Yeah, and I think I had some general marketing in there.
yeah, it talked about just like the communications and all that. So I just brought it up because to be more specific, but to me,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think
a break or
the
break.
other duties as assigned will cover that, but also some of that fell under. I also looked at Nikki's job
Okay.
description, and since she's handling a lot of that, it'll fall under the Parks Department one way or the other. So
Okay.
I think we'll be okay. We can also bring it up in the interviews. So Dr. Burney also sent me some revisions today and cleaned it up a little bit, and I like how he kind of separated some of the duties into categories. So I'm going to take a look at his, but my goal is to post this tomorrow. I will tell you that we haven't even posted the job yet, but the word has gotten around that we're looking, and I've already had several inquiries from what I would consider decent candidates. So obviously I'm not collecting resumes yet, but I think we'll hopefully have some success here, and I think it's a really good job. It's a really good career builder job. So hopefully we'll get some really good candidates. My intent, I haven't put the timelines on it yet, but my intent is to get resumes in, Ryan and I to kind of review those and kind of sift through the first round, and then come to us, get our top, depending on how many we get and how many really good ones there are, somewhere between top 2 to 5 best candidates, and then either do a subcommittee with a couple of you or actually do a session with the park board, however we want to do that in that final round to make sure. And I'm going to have Nikki also in on the interviews, because this person's going to have to work directly with Nikki, so we got to make sure that everybody's working well together out of the box. So that's kind of the plan, but I'd like to get it moving because we got a lot of work ahead of us in parks, and it'd be nice to get them moving on a lot of different initiatives.
Is everybody here aware of the new website that's coming or not? Should we? No?
No.
Oh, the town council had acted to get a new website, and the contractor is Resize, is that it?
Revise.
Revise. And it'll have various modules and abilities and capabilities that are going to far exceed what we currently have. And it should be wonderful for exactly what Catherine was talking about.
Yeah, and to that point, I have it in my email, but to get to it, we're going to be well past the conversation. So I kind of have, tomorrow night at the council meeting, I was going to kind of show the preliminary design of the new website. But one of the first initiatives we're going to need the director and Nikki to dive into is kind of the rental software system for public settings. So when we have community centers and park shelters and everything, there's a common one that you can look at as Rec Desk. A lot of park departments use Rec Desk. But it's a management system on the back end, just like we have iWorks that we're actually switching out of on permitting. The park department will run this rental and facility management software, if you will. So I'm going to want them to start looking at options in that and getting some quotes put together, because we will incorporate that into the new website as we get design done. And so that's coming sooner than later. So yeah.
So I have some very minor things on here. I'll give this to you afterwards. But one thing I don't see, and maybe there's enough bullets on here, maybe it's in here somewhere, is the
Yeah, it doesn't have to hit everything.
well, but
it
we
can.
specifically early on talked about this position doing a lot of like writing, like policy writing, guidelines, like the ability to sort of create and stand up the infrastructure, the processes and procedures. And so I don't know if that's big enough, it's worth kind of calling out on its own.
Yeah, I like what you said about the policies and we have kind of a strong written skills in here, but policies, and I'll make sure that we have something on drafting policies, procedures, in operating manuals.
Yeah, SOPs, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I don't want that part, so give it to them.
Yeah, nobody wants that part. Well, no, I take that back. There are some people out there that like that. It's probably not the parks guy, because those are two completely different skill sets. But
Yeah, it's going to be the non-fun part, but we were just talking about that's going to be like their year one is getting us set up to function like a normal park department, and we're basically starting from scratch. So. I'll add some language in there. I haven't looked totally through Dr. Burney's comments either, so I'll get that all put together, and again, hopefully get it posted tomorrow. If it's Wednesday,
also,
don't
this
kill
is
me.
random. It's something I always struggle with. Is it park or is it parks?
Oh, I agree too.
You know what's funny?
Is it parkwood or is it parksword?
That's a really good question.
I like the plural.
I do too, but we've got both on here. so
Well,
fair enough.
and in our salary ordinance, I just have the title as park director. But as I looked around the state, most people had park and recreation director, or director of. That's a whole nother debate about the difference. There is a difference between director of and director. Can't believe it.
Director of, director.
Yeah, there's actually a hierarchy level. Director of is higher than director, but that's a whole nother issue we don't need to get down. So I guess that's a good question. I actually put it in here as park and recreation director, which is not the title that's approved. We're gonna have to, we have some amendments to that. We kind of look at our salary ordinance quarterly and stuff, because we've hired people in at different rates and whatnot, but we can amend that. I guess that's a really good question of what do you want to call this person? And I think it's actually park and recreation, because you're managing both. I did, but I immediately saw Department of Parks and Recreation is the very next line. So I guess
That's
we
the
should
only reason it stood out to me, because there were two different ways.
I think we want to sound like we have more than one park,
I agree.
Parks.
Yeah.
and we do already. So,
Let me look into it a little bit. I'll go with the
See,
direction
right?
of
It's
we
such a
want it
little
to be
thing, but-
parks and recreation. I think the TV show is Park and Recreation. If you want to go off that. Parks versus park. So the preference is if we're not making a major mistake, parks is the preferred route, not park and recreation. So it'd be Parks and Recreation Director. Okay. As
Because we have one in one park.
is it plural?
It's plural on the TV show.
We'll go with parks.
Thank you for clearing that
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I wouldn't even thought about it. So, perfect. Anything else? I appreciate the feedback on that. I'm excited to get that out the door. So, if
How long are you
you
going to leave it posted?
probably it kind of depends on where I'm able to. We'll post it on the Indiana Park and Rec Association, the AIM website. I'll put it on our LinkedIn. We kind of rotate jobs on that one, and we'll put it on our website. We'll just see what kind of interest we get, and if we're not getting interest, we'll probably put it out there a little longer. As I was saying before the meeting too, this person's got to be the right person. So if we're not happy with any of the candidates, we'll repost it and do it again. But I have a feeling we'll get some really solid candidates on this that want to be close to Indianapolis and have an opportunity to put their signature, if you
Yeah.
will, on a department. So, we usually leave them open for about 2 weeks initially, give some people time to find it and then respond to it. Does anyone think that's too little time, too much time?
I think with spring break, maybe we might just extend it a bit.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We can do it to the end of the month. Keep it open till the end of the month, if you will, and then close it and start the process. The other thing we've been doing with our jobs, because we don't want to miss opportunities, if we get a good candidate in, we'll bring them in for an interview right away. We won't wait till we get all the candidates. So if someone really catches us, we'll bring them in and show them that we're interested in them. We can do that as well, just kind of do the initial kind of weed out interview. So I'm happy to do that too. All right, let's end the month. And if you do, like, if you're like, I absolutely want to be on that final interview, just let me know. I don't have any set agenda for who that committee needs to be. If you feel like I got enough to do, that's fine too. All right.
Okay, new business. Waive
This is
fees for
you,
ballpark.
Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
These first few are our recreation event coordinator.
Okay, so Old School Park is going to be undergoing renovation soon. I'm not sure when we're pushing dirt over there yet, but with all of that happening, those 2 to 3, 4 teams that usually rent out the ball field over there, they've been paying pretty good money to rent it out, and with there being a lot of construction and maybe even less parking during renovation, should we possibly waive the fee and just say, hey, it's at your own risk, and if you find parking, great, and we won't charge you this year since we're undergoing these construction issues? I would like to know your thoughts.
There will definitely be a disruption of parking.
Is it still
Because we're adding
usable? I guess
parking.
that's a question. Is this even, will it be usable?
I don't think it's
So here, I'm jumping a little ahead, but here's the most current diagram. I won't go into detail yet, but we're getting ready to put the RFP out to get the sewer line over to this building, and I need another conduit. I got to remember that. But obviously, we're going to be we got a demo plan that's tearing out all this old playground equipment. So most of the actual construction is going to be on the south side of the park. But there could be some staging up there. We're trying. The whole intent was we didn't want to touch the tennis court because we just resurfaced it in this first phase, and we really didn't want to touch the ball diamond until the next phase when we'll need to get rid of it. Hopefully by then we'll have a plan to create new ball diamonds, so there's a little bit of exchange. But there will be. We have drainage down Hannah, and then we'll be adding all this parking. This isn't the full park, by the way. It goes a little bit north of this. So they're going to have limited parking for certain parts of the year. Our intent is the RFP goes, it's going to TAC next week. I think that's next week. And we'll get the RFP out after that. So we'll give it 30 days, let's say, for responses, permitting and everything. We're probably April, May, June, maybe June, unfortunately. We're hoping to be April, May. It might be June when they're actually mobilized doing this. So right during the middle of summer. They had asked us, do we want to wait for a certain time of year? And with what's going on in construction thing, we said, no, pull the Band-Aid, do it whenever you can do it, get the best pricing. And people will forget about it a year from now when the inconvenience is over. But there is going to probably be a few months where there's limited to no parking and poor access. So I'd hate to necessarily charge someone to rent the field and not be able to provide what they're essentially paying for. Although we don't really rent parking spaces, but
I'm somewhat concerned with safety, possible liability, them hitting balls over in the construction area.
That's kind of where I was going. Do we just say it's not available this summer? Is that
we
just
could
an
also do
easier-
that,
is just an
or it's not available for rent. You can use it if it's available, but due to the construction season,
We're not reserving spots.
Maybe we ought to put up signs, use at your own rate,
we're
Yeah.
probably going to have to.
post signage to limit,
There's also going to be erosion control that will probably go all the way down here, and it'll go down here. So it's going to be there, but not necessarily.
What kind of is an attractive nuisance? So if somebody goes in there, I don't think we really have liability, but we should still have signage regarding the construction to, you know, either just close it and fence it off, or put up signs, use at your own risk.
Have you had inquiries for rental yet?
Not yet, but I know they're coming.
Actually, with also the construction town square, I mean, will that really just make that whole area, I mean, nightmare?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know what the construction, the erosion control and all that is really going to look like until they really start. So we don't even know
Correct.
Yeah.
if it's even going to be available.
And we don't know the timing yet because we haven't selected the contractor who can
Right.
tell us when they're going to be able to mobilize and start work. So
I mean, what about a split? Because they're going to start, I mean, they're probably already practicing for spring ball or pretty soon if they're not already.
You'd think so.
They're getting ready to.
I normally get the phone calls and emails about starting now and into April, because those traveling teams will use it as their practice field. And I don't want to reserve it and say, you absolutely get it every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and they start erosion control and maybe even cut into the field a little bit more. Like, I don't know what to tell them, and they've already paid money to use that field. I'd hate to say, hey, tough luck, kind of thing.
They paid all in one lump sum.
Yes.
yeah, because they get a break by doing it that way.
Isn't it going to
So
be
all
done
I
in
was gonna say is
phases?
maybe you could do half and say, because it's like 2 months of use, right? I mean, if it's not gonna really start until June, like,
Sometimes I
Yeah.
have them reserved
I'm hoping
until
for May.
October.
Will they be working on the whole parcel, or is it done in phases?
Yeah, because the demo part will take out the playground equipment, the shelter, all the concrete.
What's
and
going to
the-
happen to the playground equipment?
Probably just, that's a question they just asked us. is
Most of
we
it's
wanna-
new.
It's not that new, and
Oh,
actually,
they just replaced it last year.
oh well, we're gonna keep the swings, but not the
Yeah,
playground
the
equipment.
swings are new, and the rotary thing I think is new. The spinner.
I don't think we replaced it right.
I don't recall that.
I know that
Last
we,
year.
I
Put the
used one of the
disability
grants
swing
to
in.
purchase
Yeah.
the handicap swing. That was about 2 years
Yeah.
ago, but this is the
And
newest
we
thing
will
that
say
we have.
that.
I think Flory owned it then.
We discussed keeping the equipment, and they said basically to tear it out and move it, you create a liability issue. We can look at it,
I can ask Jack if he wants it. They have a new elementary school.
yeah.
They'd like to make separate grounds for kindergarten.
Yeah, because most of your expense, that we'll get to that later, is exactly that. It's insurance for the company building it, so they don't get sued. So
I guess
so
the original.
long
I've been
story short
different. I
is,
think if you're not gonna waive the fee, I would get you out of the work, right? So, like, shut it down or use at your own risk, or first come, first serve, or like,
it sounds like, yeah, first come, first serve would probably be the best one, and we put signage up there that says, hey, during construction, you know, play at your own risk, be careful. Something like that. Something that doesn't give us more liability. But, yeah, the intent was to kind of keep out of that area, but there is gonna be construction for the new parking and how that all goes. And it doesn't go all the way down to it either, because we didn't want to put parking in front of where the car's just gonna get hit by baseballs all the time. So,
So even though they're not scheduling or paying a fee, would we even though want them to fill out a form that, I don't know, protects us or anything like that?
No, because I mean, you can go up to the park at any time
Well,
without
that's-
a reservation and
Yeah.
play without telling us.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not gonna like it, because that was the whole argument last year, is they wanna know that they have the field so that they bring their team together.
The only, if it's first come, first serve, I mean, you run the risk of teams coming at the same time.
Yeah,
And that's tough to schedule practices with parents.
yeah.
It's I hate taking space away from kids to play, but it honestly be easier. It might be easier for the parents and the coaches to know it's not available.
It's just not available. The other issue you have
they
with
plan.
first come, first serve is if a father and kid are playing out there,
right?
and a team walks up and says, hey, we're gonna use the field,
Yeah.
they don't really have the right to kick them off. You'd
think-
hope they'd work it out, but they don't
I
have
think
to.
if we don't have something in place, you run the risk of
so So I guess that's why I say either continue what we're doing and as normal or just shut it down for the season. Don't do it.
Okay. Excuse me.
Do we-
So the recommendation is shut it down during construction, and as soon as we can get parking back, we can open it back up.
Yeah.
All right. We'll work on that.
Okay.
I'm gonna sneak out and grab water.
Okay. I can take the next one.
Yeah, keep going.
All right, so Party in the Park vendor fees. Last year, I charged vendors $40 to participate in the event. I did not charge employees last year at all. I don't know if you want me to continue to do that. I have an employee whose mom owns a farm with honey and eggs and things like that, and she paid, but I don't feel comfortable charging her if I didn't charge family and employees last year. So I wanted to know your thoughts before I proceed with an actual decision on that.
Well, it's the cost that we collect. I mean, what are we covering, and then are we losing to not charging family members, I guess?
Well, there's only a couple, so there's
Okay.
like maybe 2 or 3 at most that would participate as an employee. The funds that I'm using from those vendor fees are to help pay for the attractions that I rent. It's not a whole lot in the end. Like sometimes my sponsors contribute more than what I gather from the vendors, but it's still something. And with last year's being as successful as it was, I feel like I need to just step up my game a little bit, just a little bit. So it's going to be more expensive. So I'd like to
Are
try.
you increasing the $40?
No,
Oh.
I'm going to keep that the same.
Oh.
So I didn't know what your thoughts would be if I should go ahead and charge employees and their families the $40, or if I should abstain.
Just work toward fair practices, equitable, straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, part of me is like, I'm trying to think of the benefit of the employees not paying, right? Because they're in theory going to make money and they're contributing to the park. So why were they exempt last year? Maybe that's a good thing. Is there a reason not to exempt them?
I think
guess?
last year I was just trying to get as many people out there as I could,
Oh,
because I didn't want there to be 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last year was our very first year. I didn't even know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect an hour before it happened. So I was pleasantly surprised, and this year I would like to keep that momentum going. So I'm okay either way, whatever you guys decide. I just wanted to stick with a rule and keep going with it instead of, 1 year we do and 1 year we don't.
Well, likewise, when they do the farmer's market, were you thinking the same kind of a different scenario if it's an employee or employee family member?
Oh, the market in McCordsville?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines there too. Like, is it an employee benefit, or is it?
the mutual benefit is you get participation and they get to sell their stuff,
Yeah.
right? If that's it, because you're trying to draw traction, that's the value proposition.
But to your point, they're also doing it because they're hoping to make money. So it's not like we're charging them a crazy amount.
And was what, 3 people?
If that. I think last year it was Allison and one of our PW guys' wives was there, and it was just those 2 or 3 of them, and then I think that was it.
I mean, do you think they'd not participate if they had to pay the $40?
No, because I think that they actually would anyway.
Then yeah, I mean, now's the year to say, this is it, right? Like,
Yeah.
no.
We had a giant unknown last year and it worked out pretty well. And it could change year 2. We could, people would say, I went last year and I'm not going back. It's fine, but you don't know. But
Yeah.
Charge them.
Charge.
that's consensus.
I agree.
Like,
I don't think we need a motion on that.
She
but-
said it. She said it strongly enough. I wasn't going to say it.
Okay.
I'm all about
I
making
assume that, but I just need to get on the record
Yep.
there. so.
Also, did you guys think that $40 vendor fee for the party in the park is fair? I was looking at other vendor fees, and I figured I was actually right below them, and then I got a comment from another vendor saying, only for 3 hours for $40, no, I'm not gonna do that. But I don't know.
I'll be honest, I don't.
I have
no
no
clue.
insight into that. I have no idea what it costs to
Like,
do that.
what is? I mean, what does Fortville charge?
I think
Sure.
it's 50. And they have like a package deal too, because their farmers market is an ongoing
Yeah.
thing. Our new market is somewhat an ongoing thing, but I only charge them $20 per event that they show up to. So I don't know, I feel like you're participating in a community event, you're kind of giving to the community to help me pay for that stuff that I'm attracting more visibility to your business to.
Yeah, but as a
$40
I don't think they
business,
see it
marketing,
that
and
way.
frankly, they could write it off if
Right.
they
Yeah.
have a true business.
You're
it's a write-off,
ab- you're
so-
absolutely right. $40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, in year 2,
yeah.
they all
If
drop
you hear
off
more
and we have
complaints or
Yeah.
something like that.
7 vendors, then we know we need to adjust something.
Okay.
Right. Or maybe, I don't know if there's a way to say, if there's a, like, if you participate in this for $40, they give you one McCordsville market, like, right, like throw in a,
You could even do a sign up before this date and it's $10 off or something. I don't know, just to try to lock it in earlier.
Yeah.
Marketing.
I think I'm up to close to 25 just for market in McCordsville. And they're still kind of trickling in. I still have 2 months left before that even starts. Party in the Park, I haven't really extended out the vendor sponsorships until today. So I'll be getting those out probably tomorrow.
So,
Charge them 40.
Okay,
all right,
thank you.
you're next again.
Oh, me again.
Keep going until I cut you
Okay,
off.
we're moving Story Walk at Old School Park during the construction. It's just gonna be in the way, to be
Well,
honest.
you're gonna have to move it
Yeah, we
now
have
after
to
we
move
saw
it.
the
So
demo plan.
we're gonna have to take it down. I have nowhere else to really put it right now. So what I was thinking of is just storing it until we figure out. Also, an update on Story Walk is that those signs are starting to fall apart.
that's what I was gonna say, probably need to take them down just to keep them.
Yeah, 2-ish years, a lot of the welding pieces on those metal frames are starting to come undone, and it's starting to look pretty ratty. And I've noticed that they move a lot in the dirt, so they kind of how tombstones are at a cemetery, they start to tilt and move. That's what's happening over at Story Walk. So hopefully, when we get through some of this construction and construction over McCord Square, and hopefully at that trailhead over by 9 Star, I was thinking maybe we can reestablish Story Walk over there and maybe get some better, more permanent signs that are more aesthetically pleasing too.
Is there any way to
Are you already working
I
on
know
that?
Ashton's just dying. If you guys haven't met Ashton Bennett, she's the new director at Vernon Township Library. She took over from Melissa. Her and I have been sitting down and discussing community events for weeks now, and she has some great insight as for Story Walk. I'm sure you could dive into it and even explain some of the ideas that you have. It's more
If
permanent.
you go to the podium.
Yeah, Nikki invited me. This is, I think I'm in my 8th week now here at Vernon Township, so I'm new to the community. Catherine serves on our library board. And so my previous experience was working for Hussey Mayfield and developing some community development, their new building project in Whitestown as they expanded. And then before that, I was at Anderson Public Library for 7 years and then did academics before that. So I was telling Nikki that I have a lot of experience with parks and library engagement, collaborations, and showed her some of our permanent signs. We worked with our community foundation to do a matching grant to get Enviro signs. I can send something if you want to include it in some notes, but they're very permanent established metal signs that can come up. The base gets cemented into the ground, and then you can remove them for the winter months. Our plans at the previous libraries I worked at was to have them up from March to November and then have them down during the winter so that they were nice. And it's still the similar process where you could deconstruct the book, you laminate them, but it has a protective cover, it can be easily cleaned, they're sustainable and hold up in the weather. So I had sent those to her and was excited for the opportunity to kind of build a new Story Walk when your parks are up, and then offered to store the signs too at the library in our outside storage while you guys are doing construction. So Thank you.
Thank you.
Nope.
Do we have
I like
any way of feedback or informal or like the use of people reading or
Like actually using it?
yeah?
When we first did it,
Yeah.
there was a lot of excitement. There's no tracking mechanism.
I know. I just didn't know how to feel for it.
It's
at
hard to
all.
tell. I don't know.
Park counts.
I don't know.
That'd be hard to do there.
So I have some suggestions of things that we worked with at some other libraries. So we were working on making them accessible. So we did a recording of our staff in the library reading the book and had it on each of the signs, and they scanned it, and it actually linked to our page so we could track like the views and the listens. So that may be something beneficial. It's also makes it more accessible for those with sight impairments. And then we were actually working with the state library on some Braille pieces, so you can depending on the book that you choose, you could have one section that was audible and then one section that was sight impairments to read too. But there's tracking mechanisms that you can use with EnviroSigns and just simple QR codes too.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
She's going to be a really big help in the future, I think.
Turn the cameras back.
It's another meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. It's you now.
All right. Now we get to have a little fun. So I showed this earlier. So this is the official phase 1. What you're seeing here, what will be in phase 1 is the new parking. There's you can't see it on here, there's an alley here that's going to be coming out. So we'll be running a sewer lateral line. It's a long lateral line, but we're assured that it shouldn't be a problem. We didn't want to have to pay for a main down there, let's just say that. To this building, which is a restroom facility, and we'll get to that in a second. This is a shelter. This will be the new location of the shelter. What I'll show you, we're actually going to go for the bigger shelter here. There's room to put a larger shelter. We were really hoping to do this middle part here, and so we'll talk a little bit about what that's going to be. Unfortunately, we didn't want to take out the tennis court right now, so this is kind of in the way of the tennis court. We have decided to go ahead and demo all this over here now. Just put it back to grass, even though we're not ready to do that road project. It's just going to be easier, and this lot kind of causes problems anyways, because it's awkwardly built and no vehicle actually fits in it whatsoever. So we're going to go ahead and demo all that, but this is all new concrete through here. So we're looking at parking, restroom, shelter, 5 to 12 year old playground equipment, 0 to 5 year old playground equipment, relocation of the sign, new lighting, all in this first phase here. We're working on tightening up that budget, but some of that depends on what we select tonight. So we're gonna get a little input on some equipment from you guys. So everybody like where we're going with this? It really hasn't strayed too much. We might readjust some of this in phase 2, but in general, phase 1 should be a really nice upgrade. New trees, new plantings.
One of the issues with grouping of equipment and spaces by age group is you get families that have maybe 2 and 3 year olds and a 10 or 12 year old, and mother can't supervise them all because there's only one mother.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to stay with the younger kids, and then the older kids typically are going to go off and play by themselves, maybe without supervision, unless they have something to do close by to where the younger kids are. So there's the issue of age group splitting in families and age group splitting by equipments, and how you deal with that, I don't know.
Well, these are awfully close to each other.
They are.
And we'll put some benches in between.
But that's a consideration. If something for an older age group kid can be right across from a younger age group kid where a mother could stand in between,
So
it's a
pink-
nice way to position it.
Pink is 0 to 5, and then this is this tan is 5 to 12. And what you see laid out there right now is exactly what I'll show you on the next plan. Because all these, not only do you have to fit the equipment, depending on the equipment, there's a lot of buffer zone. Like if it's a spinny thing, you got to be able to throw the kid 10 feet or whatever. So that's the general layout.
Well, if you go back to that, see where there's a kind of a grassy median between the two areas?
The landscaping area.
If equipment butted up against that with just a walk separating it, the parents with split age groups can be in between. And if you have landscaping, it makes them less visible and more independent on the other side of it. It depends what you want the older kids to do when there's a family with split age groups.
We wanted to add a little green into it though, but
Right.
I mean, you're gonna have the shelter here. I don't know if this shows where benches will be, but we'll have to decide how many and what benches we put in there. In
You
between.
almost need a spinning chair for the mother.
Well, and the other thing to note is it's our intention in our budget to do the poured compressed rubber versus mulch. So these will also be on a ADA accessible. It costs quite a bit of money to do that, but we have issues in this area with plants that we can't kill and weeds we can't get out of there. So the constant maintenance, we think the short-term investment is going to outweigh the long-term need of maintenance.
Insurance also costs less with that.
Yep. So it's going to look really nice in there. We can look at some adjustments if we need to. So again, this is the equipment on the next page is everything that's laid out here. There's a couple things I don't like, and they didn't list. I think they messed something up on some of these spinners. So I'll tell you my recommendation. So this is the main playground equipment that they chose. We're going to look at alternates to this that cost more, but I personally like just about all of them. What we looked at here is kids seem to like height at this age, so this goes up higher than some of the other equipment, but it's pretty compact still. So it's got several slides, gives it a little bit of height, so there's some climbing there. The swing set can be any color. Don't get caught up on the color. However, we will need to pick a color scheme to this. With different types of swings, there's duo swings, normal swings, kind of ADA swings down here. And to Dr. Bernie's point, we'll save the ones we just got. There's no sense buying a brand new one when we just bought one. Plus, some of the grant money we had requires that as well. So this is a pretty extensive 5-bay swing set, so a lot of swings there, which seems to be our popular apparatus anyways. Big net, what do they call this? Eclipse climber, just a big climbing aspect here. This is what I didn't like. This is a single spinner, and depending on how they install these are either really awesome. Down out at Cynthia Ann Park, they have these, and you'll get dizzy immediately. We put one in our own HOA, and it's not angled right, and it's almost like a chore to get it to spin once. So, plus the bowl is more for the younger kids, and the one they put in the younger kids is more for older kids. I think they reversed them. I'm indifferent on them, and if we do a bigger, they're right here. They have 2 of them right here. And if we do a bigger playground equipment, we'd probably just eliminate those, frankly. Because we also have this duo spinner, this Whirly Q spinner, so we have plenty of spinning. Like, we don't have enough trash cans for kids throwing up after the spinners. So I think with the Whirly Q, if we needed to, the only downside is that's probably the cheapest thing we're putting in there is the $1,400 spinners. So you have apparatus, 5-bay swings, climbing. That is quite a bit of playground equipment, and you can see the prices under them. Everything's expensive, but total shown there is $147,310, and I think we had a over $300,000 budget in the original budget line item. So, yay. That being said, they gave us some additional options down here, and I'll tell you my pros and cons. And I think the way the budget's working, I have bond money and I have ARPA dollars, so I kind of know where I need to be. Our initial phase 1 budget was about $1.5 million. We have some flex in that bond where we might not. If we really want to do something different here, I could probably find the money and just not do something in McCord Square, something out of the bonds, and figure that out for a future time. So I really want your feedback. This option that we looked at has more things to do on it. I'm not a huge fan of the tarps. I prefer a solid roof because those in the wind get torn up and you got to replace them a lot. So I'm not ecstatic about this one. I think kids like the height more than they like the stretch out there. I liked this one. It has a lot to do. It's high. It's a little bigger. It also, just for reference, this one is $75,000 for this apparatus. This one's $168,000, but I think there's a lot more activity on it. And again, I think if we got rid of a few things and readjusted, that's doable. I don't think that's an outrageous jump. This one's just kind of a cool feel to it, and it's more of an earthy feel. That's the other thing is, what do you want this park to be? We're gonna have to pick out colors and color schemes later. This one just is kind of a neat looking one, but it's lower. It's got more climbing and ladder stuff.
Is that wood?
No, that's not wood. It's all basically the
Composite?
same metal and composite. It just made to look like wood, which we like. The other thing you got to think about, because there's a few things in here that I'd say I love, but it might be better in a different park later on. So we want to kind of keep the themes together. So down here, when you get even more expensive, this one's more of an ADA accessible, which I'm not opposed to, but again, it's got the maintenance of the tops and it's not very tall. There's not a lot to do there, in my opinion. And then this one is incredible. I love the theme. I love the tree theme. You can adapt it, but this one is also more than $200,000. So that's your big boy that you're gonna, if you really think this is the centerpiece of the park, and you want to go all in on 5 to 12 playground equipment, you could consider something like this. We don't have to do everything on that picture, but you're also paying for it. That is significantly more. I mean, 75 to. She didn't give me a price because it depends, but more than 200,000. So I love that. I love that playground equipment. I'd love to see that maybe at Haven Ponds or something down the road. Maybe when we do our next bond or something.
That looks large.
It's
Right.
large. It looks fun. I think kids would love it, but it is very expensive. So that's kind of in my opinion, I really want your feedback on this, what you like, don't like. I can zoom in a little bit more if you want to look closer on some of this. Just this one's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's in our price range. It's got a couple slides. You can climb on it. You got other stuff to do around it. This one's stretched out a little bit more. This one's got additional apparatus for an additional cost, but it's very similar to the first one. This goes into your theming and what you want your park to be. To me, that's not very exciting for 5 to 12-year-olds, but kind of it's a cool playground system though. Like I said, more accessible and than your big guy. So we kind of wanted to show you a plethora of choices. You can go big, you can go accessible, you can go tall, you can go short. These were the ones we kind of liked. You could spend days on this, by the way. We have spent plenty of time getting to this point.
I don't like anything that flaps in the wind, can tear in the wind, can blow away, collects snow or water or rust or gets splinters.
So you don't
What
like
do you
playground equipment?
Such a thing exists?
Wood, I agree. Wood that you have to go in and you have to stain it every once in a while and kind of bring
We
it back
don't want
to
to have to
life.
paint it, and we don't want splinters.
Yep. None of this is that, by the way. This
It's
looks
all
like wood, but it's
composite
not.
plastic or something, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like more like decking. That's not wood.
Yeah, it's all basically composite now.
Like those things that look like sails up at the top are those tarps.
Which one? This one?
Up one.
Yeah, those are tarps. I do not recommend those.
That's gonna fly or something.
You're gonna take those down every winter. You're gonna have to replace them. To me, they're not.
I've done that.
I'm not a
I don't like
fan.
it.
I kind of like this one right here, the giant sensory. It's got weird hammock. These are like hammocks. This is like a floating thing. It just has a few more things on it than the one that we've picked out. But it's also almost $90,000 more, almost 100. So the question then becomes, is that money that you'd like to spend on it? I think we could do that one within our current budget, depending on how things come back.
I'm fine with that. I think doing something like that gives them more, like, I like the landscape one because of the bridge thing, but the other one kind of has it too, right? It's something for them to,
Yeah.
like,
And I'd have to
bridge
take
it's
this
not,
like-
like, it's not just going up, but it's also going through and around.
Yeah.
through and around. I'd have to make sure it can fit too. I think you'd, in that case, you'd probably be, like I said, if we eliminated those two spinners, which I'm not a huge fan of anyways, that might stretch into there. We might have to recalculate this. We might lose a little bit of that landscape. We just have to recalculate it to the actual dimension.
And for what it's worth, I like the green and teal color schemes, like the swings.
Like this,
Yeah.
right here?
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
You don't like the colors?
Just kidding.
I love the bright colors.
That-
No, I like it bright.
That was awesome.
There's a hard no right here.
Well, I think this kind of fits into that
that's
too.
Seriously.
Is there any of this you
I like
don't
the bright
love
myself.
too, while you're also talking about it?
I don't really know what those seated spinner thing is.
This thing?
Yeah. Do you just sit in
They
it and
get you
it's-
really dizzy. You sit in them, and the
think
kid
it's what we
spins
used
you.
to call
and
merry-go-round.
It's like this.
Well,
I'm perfectly okay getting rid of those, frankly.
I've looked at a couple parks that were being used
Oh,
last fall, and they had groupings of those things in them, and they were primarily used by teenage girls talking on their cell phones, sitting on them. That's what they were used for. There was nobody sitting in them spinning them.
I
That was
say
just
we
when I was there, but
cut them.
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Unless
And
they
I,
have phone chargers in them.
and I think we still have a spinner here with this whirly cube
Right.
spinner. So I think that has kids playing together. I think that's more probably
Mm-hmm.
usable. Climbing. So again, this is what's currently on the scheme. So I think it's kind of between that or possibly going a little bigger to the sensory.
I like the first one.
You like the one that's already on the
Yeah.
plan,
That
This
one,
one?
yeah, I like that. Whatever it's worth.
which is a
I'm familiar with
perfectly
those, and I
reasonable
like 'em.
answer.
Even little kids, can get up in there. And
Yeah,
go down
some of
the
these slides are shorter, so that's not
They're
a
really safe,
big deal.
and the roof isn't gonna collect anything on it, and it's a shelter if it rains. You get drizzly days sometimes.
Okay. Any other thoughts? You want me
I
to?
think the comp plan has what to do, right? So if you, the next one, the one you like,
Oh,
has
I
more
like
to
them
do,
all.
like,
so
if we
it's-
can-
There's pros and cons to each one.
Yeah.
I just like there's,
Do you want me to see? What I could ask them to do is we like the one that you already have, but if we got rid of those two spinners, can this one fit there? And I could see if they could do a layout to see if it even is possible.
yeah.
Is that okay? You want me to do that and flip it back to you guys and see what you like better?
Yeah, I think for me it'd be one of those two.
Okay. I'll kind of do a layout with both. I'll get rid of those two smaller spinners in either scenario, and we'll go from there on 5 to 12. All right?
Yep.
All right. Get a look at this now. The pink. So, playground apparatus, more swings, which we can talk about, and then there's a couple pieces here. This is your 0 to 5 grouping. This is what's on the map now. So it's smaller, obviously, for smaller kids. It's a lot of climbing and bouncing, small slides, climbing, like balance beam type stuff that's maybe a foot off the ground. Classic little bouncer. Yeah, they have another spinner plate. I've never seen a spinner plate, but to me, you put a 0 to 5-year-old on that sucker, and that kid is not going to make it out alive. So
Yeah.
I don't think I think that's a no. And maybe we do another bouncer of some sort. I think kids like the bouncers.
Yeah.
We replace that. there's not a huge price difference there. That, I don't even know where that came from. We didn't even talk about that, but I'm just thinking, you want to put a kid and just spin them on a plate? Oh, and then, they have Mommy and Me swings on this set. So this is a 3-bay swing. So 2 swings, 2 swings, 2 swings, any way you want to put them. So there's 6 swings there. The other one is a 5-bay. So that's 16 different swings between this. That's a lot of swing. I don't know how you feel about that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like the Mommy and Me.
Yeah, I think these would be a little lower to the ground. We have the Mommy and Me. We do another ADA swing here. I don't have a problem with it. I just want to make sure you guys don't think that's overkill in swing bays.
I think once everything's done, I don't think you can have enough swings.
Okay.
Not all the time, obviously. But
And again, these will probably be color schemed, not.
Well,
these
and
will
they're
be
not
color.
all, they're not, like the swings here, like the belt swings and the infant seat, like, right, they're not. for
We can
everybody.
pick whatever we
So we're-
want. Yeah.
No, I like the idea of the variety, but that's the point, is right, having the variety, they're not all the same, 16
Right.
swings.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So you're okay with the 3-bay, maybe 2 bouncers. We can pick a few different bouncers, animals or something. And so this is the swings. This is the current play set. Now we have some options. I don't know what happened here. I don't know what that is. This one's just a little taller. It's got a little more climbing. It's not as spread out. It does have a couple of those things up top that Dr. Bernie and I don't love, but I don't think that's overwhelming to manage that. Or here is more of a simple structure with a little curly slide. I don't know if this side has a slide too. It kind of looks like this side might have a slide too. Doesn't show it. So this one is 32,000 and these are 40. So there's not a huge difference if you like a different style. So I don't have a better way to do this side by side. So, and I'm not sure what the intent was there. So again, more flat, climbing through this stuff, balance beams, tiny slides versus.
You know what's not here are like benches for grandparents and older adults to sit on while they're supervising and watching the kids that they brought to the park when they came to visit.
Yeah, we'll add benches in, absolutely.
So, like that one bench up there is the only one I see in the whole thing.
Well, the benches aren't tied in there. We'll have,
Well, they need to be sort of around the
yeah.
equipment, not in a place they can interfere with it, but it keeps the supervision closer to home, because otherwise those folks wander off to the benches and aren't watching the kids,
Yeah,
which is what you want to do.
we'll have benches on there, absolutely.
So I don't know what the difference is between, like, I'm looking at the ADA one. I don't know how that compares to like 2 and 5-year-olds.
Which one's the ADA one?
The
Back
one
on
up
the
in
front and face.
On the 5 to 12s?
Yeah, but it's that bottom left one.
I'm not 100% sure I know. Other than that one has a lot of sales up top, and it's.
Okay, but if you could find something similar without that, like there's a lot to do on there, right? So if you,
I don't think that
if
would
you,
fit though.
Oh, okay.
Like that's a much bigger piece of equipment. These are scale wise, these are much smaller. If you look, like that footprint is not that huge. I guess it's pretty similar. Maybe I'm wrong there.
So maybe you're thinking more of an ADA style.
That would kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Like you could get the 2 to 5-year-olds and some ADA, and there's a lot to do in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Otherwise,
can't really tell.
otherwise
I'd have to
what-
zoom that one in.
I think what's
don't
on
know.
here is fine.
I'm trying to see this one better. I can't really tell what's actually in there. There's some climbing, obviously big slides, little slides. There's a little rock wall there. I can see what they say.
Could we talk to Fishers about their parks that have those sails on it to see how well they've stood up
They don't
over
stand
there?
up.
Okay.
I'll just tell you that
I
right
have
now.
a small park at our Champion Lake playground, and it has some things like that. And every 2 years, no matter what you do, they just
Yeah.
disintegrate. The wind constantly beats them. And they're somewhat difficult to replace. too, the way they're fastened on. They're in awkward positions with awkward fasteners, and they're proprietary. You can't get any, like, off-the-shelf type things to put in.
Yep. All right, so I will ask him to see if there's an ADA option with some more stuff. But besides that, again, for a second option, this is what they have currently. Or do you like one of these? I kind of like some of these better than the one they have currently. I'm not a huge fan of the one they picked, but
My comment was on the top of the 2 to 5, the first one. It feels like the items that are on the left side, like that has a more of a obstacle course kind of feel. So I'm surprised that they're in that playground versus the older set.
sorry, I said O to 5.
Our older set doesn't look like it
2 to
has
5.
that. Oh, 2 to 5.
2 to 5, sorry.
Yeah, I agree,
Yeah,
that's
I would agree. I
challenging.
feel like that is tough for little kids. That was my opinion. That's why I kind of liked one of these better. I don't know that they're very similar. I kind of like. I mean, there's not much to this one. I'd be kind of bored quickly. But run up. There's some stuff underneath. You got a little curly slide, but you can say the same here. It's got
Any
2 slides.
toddlers under age 2 that can toddle will be there.
Yeah. So
And that, I agree with Kim that that's challenging for them.
yeah.
It seems like it's more in a, 4 to 5 age group.
Yep. So, I mean, you got a couple steps here. You got a climbing rock. Kids like that. They can climb around on it. To me, I kind of like this one better. But it's got the little roof, to your point. A little shelter in place.
And then the parent doesn't have to worry too much about.
Yeah. Plus, the
Falls
curly.
and all that
What
stuff.
kid doesn't like a curly slide, right?
I still like them.
I don't see any of them here, but I saw one elsewhere that was like a large plastic boulder, and it had a number of places where somebody could roost on it, and it had kind of steps in it. You could kind of climb up it, and the sides were, sloped enough that if a kid lost their footing or something, it'd be more like a slide going down. And they could get up at the top, and there was an area up at the top where several of them could stand up there or sit up there. It was just basically a big plastic rock with footholds and seats and platforms on it.
Yeah.
Nothing else but that.
Mm.
It'd probably be like 10,000 if you could find one of those. It's kind of a landscape.
I mean, here's the problem. You can spit. I have catalogs of, like, Nikki and I had to start sifting through catalog after catalog of these things. So it can become overwhelming really quick.
There's nothing to maintain or catch anything.
Well, we have, I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but at the very end, it's phase 2. We really want to do it phase 1. Actually, I got to go up first to show you what I'm talking about. The area in between the basketball hoops, this area right here is kind of what you're talking about. It's another kind of, we're really excited about this. So you have benches on both sides so people can watch tennis or basketball, but their kids can kind of play in between. And it's all kind of natural, so log crawl, hill, tiny slide, balance beams that look like logs, rock, fake
kinda
rock
like that.
climbers.
Yeah,
We
bigger
can't
around
wait
there,
to put
but-
that. I think that's going to
Yeah.
be really cool. We could do a little bit of this in there. It's not really a playground, a piece of
yeah,
equipment.
they love that stuff.
But they do like climbing around, and we're kind of excited about this. We really wish we could do this now. We thought we were going to be, and that's all turf too. We're going to do it as turf, so that's going to be really cool in between those, I think. But we could, I mean, that doesn't mean we couldn't put our log in there, or we could do some balance instead of that spinner thing. We could do a fake rock that they can just climb on. That's
That's what I was
perfectly
talking
reasonable.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were kind of referring to.
Yeah, it was bigger than that, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
So we could do that, and I still think we add a small playground, but I don't know. I'd probably pick this one if I was picking one of these for dimensions, and then see if they have an ADA option.
Well, it's got one of those rocks sitting next to it, doesn't it?
And it has a rock too, so it
Comes
wouldn't
with a
look
rock.
weird if we added another one.
Rocks are
Kids play
included.
with. Okay, I will get a couple options on that one too. This is the shelter we've kind of landed on, low maintenance, out of the ground. The only thing I'd say is this is kind of small. I mean, you might get 3 picnic tables in there, so I don't remember the exact dimension, but she had one that's almost double the size. And I think we should have a bigger shelter here. Get as many benches in as we can. So it's got a little character to it. Should be all right. Any issues? The only thing we used to do custom shelters when I did it, and what I liked was when I was in park maintenance, we had a guy who architect and we'd build them by scratch. But the one feature I liked was kind of in between here or a bump out, we would build shelves with outlets, like upper, so you didn't have to use one of your picnic tables for crock pots and food. You actually had a spot where you was built in where you could actually put your picnic stuff, and it had plenty of outlets for crock pots and things as well, music. I don't think they offer that here, but it's something I've asked them to look for, is if there's kind of an extension add-on to one of these where you can kind of,
Yeah.
otherwise you're wasting a whole picnic table just to put all your stuff on it. We got to make sure we have adequate power here. So, any thoughts on that? Do you guys like that? Again, I think we could change the roof color if we wanted.
But you are doing a metal.
It's metal, yeah.
Can we get anything for posts other than wood? Do they make
We
some kind
could
of
get-
stainless post or?
We could get metal. It's going to cost a lot more is the only problem.
I don't want to run up the cost, but somebody's going
Well, I
to
think
have
we're
to stain
okay.
those, seal them.
I'll ask the
And
question.
they will eventually rot where they come into contact with the ground there. with the seal.
Yeah, I think we didn't want to do the in-ground. I think we've got them on, you can see we have them where we can replace them.
If they sit up,
Yeah. Hopefully your concrete works pushing that water away too. So.
I think they're anchored well enough that probably not going to fly.
Yeah. Okay. We'll look at a couple of those options. But in general, nobody hates this shelter. Okay. Keep moving here. Restrooms. Now be excited about this conversation. I actually have a weirdly strong opinion on this one, but the first thing you're going to notice is they are very expensive. These prefab restrooms are very expensive. These first ones are not our first choice, but they're about half the cost. So we think we need a double restroom. Here, I'm going to blow this up a little bit. So double stall. This is the one that. The other thing we want is a storage area in the back, so we can. It's just something to be nice to have out there. We'll also use this. I'll get a conduit in this. We'll bring our. We'll actually have an internet connection here, so we can have security cameras. So this is where we'll actually put that connection in, so that we can run our camera equipment off of it as well. Because we're gonna want equipment for all those basketball hoops and people doing stuff around the shelter and whatnot. You're gonna want some eyes on the park, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. So we can use this. We don't need a concession stand. This one has 2 roll-up doors. It's weird. I prefer the doors on the layout to be towards the path. However, the one that probably makes the most sense with a roll-up door instead of the concession doors has side loading doors. I don't know that it's a big deal, other than I think your vents are on your front. Your vents are now in the front, which is the path that everyone walks by. So now, granted, these aren't pit toilets. They're going to be hooked up to a sewer flushing, so they're not going to be the smelliest thing on earth like some pit toilets. But I prefer this orientation better, but with this storage unit. So I don't know if that's an option or not.
ADA,
They're both ADA. Yep.
so all the counter heights and fixture heights are right for that.
Yep, and you can do you can make them both unisex, or you can do men, women, or whatever you want to do.
So for hand washing, it's just a sink with faucets or
It's a sink with faucets, a bathroom, and a baby changing thing. That's
automatic
it.
water control, automatic flushers?
We haven't gotten that far. You're well ahead of us on that. So
Hand dryers or
probably not hand
Paper
dryers.
towels
Probably
or-
paper towel.
trash?
Trash can will be in there. So I mean, there's not. It's a bathroom. So what I don't like about this one as much is the plumbing chase is kind of tight. The ones I like are these Romtex. That's what we used to use a lot. They just look, the building materials are nicer. Here, I'll just come out a little bit. They're nicer stone buildings. They just have a nicer look to them.
Heated.
They're not heated. We shut them down in the winter.
In the winter, the drinking fountains have to be winterized.
So winterized drinking fountains. This one, I like the layout of this one, the unisex ADA. And what I liked is the plumbing wall is actually your mechanical rooms. They're easier if there's a problem while your plumbing's on the backside versus a plumbing chase in between. But here's the problem. These are with installation, which is also $60,000 to buy the thing and then another $60,000 to put it in. So $122,000 for this guy. Romtech is $185,000 to $235,000. So while I like it better, I don't know that I like $100,000 like it better. So
Why the big swag between 185 to 235?
because we don't know what the install is going to be, we depending on what model we pick with features, it's going to be 85 to 135 for this model. We knew we wanted the 2 restroom. They have single restroom ones. There's a lot of different options to these. We thought having 2 unisex made this most sense. We don't need overkill there. It's really if I'm playing basketball or my kid's playing at the playground, he's running the bathroom, we need to have a bathroom there. We didn't overkill this. We went with the smaller one. So depending on what features you do, that's buying the restroom. And then, as you can see, $100,000 installation estimate. It could be less than that.
So water heater, hot and cold running water. To
That's
winterize it. What's the process?
What's that?
What's the process to winterize it? I mean, you got drain pipes. And
We'll drain the pipes. You're gonna have to put something in the toilets for the winter, and that's about it. Lock the door.
Seems like it should be plumbed up so there's like 2 valves you open and all the water drains, and you don't have to blow it out.
Yeah. So, thoughts on this?
I mean, if it's all the same kind of money, I'd put more money in the restrooms than the playground equipment if I have to start splitting over some of the money.
Like if we didn't buy one of the really expensive ones, put a little more, but get what we want here. I don't disagree with that. I just didn't want to make that decision, but I would much rather do this one. To me, seems like an easier, because Dr. Bernie just brought up a point I didn't even think about, like a hot water heater. We're gonna have to put that in there. We're gonna have the IT stuff. You're gonna have the plumbing wall. I mean, this doesn't give you a lot of room in this mechanical room, but it's easier to maintain. So okay, well I like that direction. Everyone's okay with that? Dr. Bernie, you got a lot of technical questions that are really good questions that we'll need to ask.
Well, it can all be designed into it when it's done.
Because
they will that way.
They will bring this done and they'll just kind of set it on there and bolt it down. So, all right.
If it's prefab, that should be designed into it.
Yep.
If they designed into it obtuseness to maintain it, we want them to reconsider how that's made.
Hold on, I'm taking a couple of quick notes here. Your other option, which is actually weirdly cheaper if you combine them, is this beautiful bathroom / shelter, which isn't crazy. I've seen these all over the place. My only thought on this is this probably isn't the right park for this. Like I could see that at Haven Ponds, makes some sense. The issues you have with these just being parks are people. Let's say you got a big group that rented the shelter or didn't rent the shelter. They seem to end up being possessive of the bathroom areas, and it kind of deters people from using them. That's why I kind of like shelter separate from the bathroom. That's not always the case. Like I said, Haven Ponds, the linear park, this probably makes a lot of sense there. Cost wise, and again, it's got a big storage room. It's got dual bathrooms. You could combine on the site plan and do something like this, and it's actually combined about the same price, if not a little bit cheaper. Now, I don't know with what you're looking at, these little the features are add-ons, so I don't know what was actually spec'd in that number. Could be a little more simple than that, but it's a good-looking building, but I do see some logistic issues. I've seen people that don't want to walk up to somebody's birthday party to use the bathroom, and they feel like, oh, and other people that have rented it and think they rent the whole thing,
Well,
even though they're not renting the bathrooms.
If you're using it for your kids for a birthday party and somebody's walking up that's unknown, they're gonna like freak.
Yes.
Doesn't the site plan show that the shelter and the bathroom are separate? And
For
the
this, they are, I mean, this is a
And-
building and this is an extension off the building, so
And the
the
bathroom would
access
have
to
be
them are
sited where the
not.
sewer's coming in?
Yeah, so if we go to the site plan, yeah, I see what you're saying now.
It puts it over on the side then, unless you do more.
Yeah, we'd have to revamp the site, so this is where, so basically that would sit right here, and you just wouldn't put your shelter right here, where 9 is. You'd extend 10, and this grassy tree area becomes your shelter / toilet.
Could you do 2, a bathroom like this, where the bathroom's on the site plan and a shelter where the shelter is called for? Have one with a bathroom and one without?
We'd have to run additional sewer line, but.
No, I mean 2 shelters, 1 bathroom. A bathroom and a shelter where the bathroom is called for on the site plan.
Uh-huh.
And a shelter where the shelter's called for.
You
Yeah,
could.
both.
They're awfully close to each other is the only problem,
Well,
but you could do that.
it would increase shelter space.
You could also
and-
possibly
be
put
more
one of the
presence.
shelters like over, you could put a shelter like over here. You could the other option is you could always add a shelter later.
Yeah, the one combo's not that expensive, so it's cheaper than the playground equipment, actually.
Yeah, it is. That was what was interesting. And again, I don't know that what you see is what's spec'd. Some of those features might, like this is pretty bare bones when you get down to it, right?
So if you had one of those and one of the other combo things with the bathroom.
And that one was just for, this will be a little more expensive because I asked for the bigger one, but, oh, shit, didn't even have a price on there. Okay. So I don't know how much that actually is, but I'll find out. But just the bathroom is, like we said, 100, more than the shelter bathroom combo. So,
Yeah, maybe get that for the bathroom and the other shelter. The smaller shelter.
let me, I mean, does anyone have major heartburn over that?
I guess
See,
It might not be 2 shelters. We would probably do this one and have to add a shelter
Yeah,
later.
add a shelter
I
later.
guess. But you can always add a shelter later.
Yeah, the one little shelter would be easy to put up
I
later.
just wouldn't want that by the basketball courts. If I'm trying to use the shelter, and it's right there by the basketball courts with people playing ball,
it's gonna be loud
that's
and,
not,
yeah.
from a location perspective. I'm not opposed to combo shelter, I just wouldn't put it there.
So this is where your bathroom's going to be,
Yeah.
because that's where the sewer line literally comes out right here. So it's a
I think it's
straight
fine the way
shot.
it is, frankly. I mean, and I
Okay.
like them separate. I like the shelter being in the middle right there, but you can kind of, like 360 view, you can see all, like, right, you kind of, access to
You
things.
could argue that this is in the way. For, like if my kids are running from here to here, I got to go around a birthday party or something. I could see that being an issue. Like 9. You
Yeah.
could almost argue 9 needs to go, whether you connect them or not. Maybe 9 needs to go off. But again, then you're right by the basketball
right by the
courts.
basketball courts.
But that's where everyone's going to hang out. They're going to put their hoodies in there, and it's going to be the hangout spot for basketball kids too. Which is why we're putting all these benches along here, because you want to wait for next and whatnot. But you're right. Logistics-wise, this is kind of a problem of if my kids want to run from the different playground areas, you're going to have to run through that shelter area. So the current shelters, like right here, well, actually probably like right here. We could do something over here. We could move the shelter over here. We could, this could always shift. We could put the shelter like over here. This is actually phase 2. So the current setback, and I'm going to guess, is maybe right here. So we could actually put it right here. We say we don't want that there, we want it over here, away. Like, so it's not out of that main path needs to stay open, I guess, and say, give me a couple options.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different options there. But we don't like 9 where it is, we want 9 moved. Now that we've kind of talked about it, I totally agree with that. This needs to kind of be the central plaza, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll see if they can't move that over, like right here. Because you could always push that, when you redo the tennis court, you can push that north. There's
And could
nothing
even in
stopping
that
you.
central area, could you even just do like some like picnic tables or something there, just more general seating that people could sit at?
We probably will for now because we don't have these benches and everything sitting here. So you're gonna want somewhere for basketball kids to throw their stuff and sit, so. We could do benches on each side, kind of like Dr. Bernie's point, we're not showing benches yet, but we're gonna want benches for mom and dad to sit there and watch the kids. And thoughts? Dr. Bernie, did you have a thought on that?
Oh, it's like where you're going with it.
Kind of see if we're separating these, go over here.
It does move it further from basketball noise too. Tennis
Yeah.
is kind of quiet, but basketball's kind of rhythmically.
I'm not totally sold that this doesn't become green space and we readjust the tennis court down here with the pickleball courts and make that like one full stretch of tennis surface.
What if you switch that with the basketball court and put the basketball court back there? Enough green space on both
Back
sides.
here,
Yeah.
the problem is we need to do this in phase 1 and because we got to tear out the current basketball court. And so we didn't want to get rid of the baseball diamond just to do that. There was some logistic timing of that because we don't know when we're doing phase 2. We didn't want to tear up the tennis court because we just resurfaced it. So we flopped the current basketball court and added 2. These are short. Right now it's a full court going this way, if you recall. This is sideways and we made them shorter because more people. No one's running full court. We're all old. Somebody will run full court.
You're going to put cyclone fencing around that basketball court.
Yeah, that basketball court will be fenced
Can we
in.
get that like a black plastic coated instead of the
Yeah.
galvanized that rusts?
That's a really good.
It kind of disappears when it's black, and it lasts longer if it's plastic coated. It's not.
I'm pretty sure Ryan will give his blessing on that. He hates chain link. Plastic coating.
Same thing, I guess, on the tennis courts. If they're going to have the
Yeah.
fencing around them, we want it to be dark and disappear.
Yeah, you brought up a couple good. I need to get benches on this plan. I want to talk about specs of that fencing. We'll adjust the shelter location, and we might look at a different option for phase 2. We can even because I think you move that. I think you leave this open space to run around. You're still sheltered from the road. You'll have a buffer there. So.
We probably
Okay.
could save us some sewer run if we moved the bathroom north by where the basketball court is, where that green space is on the other side of it.
This goes. I'd have to bring up the map.
Well, the interceptor's going to come down.
The interceptor's going to come here. I'm just going to bring it up real quick.
Assume that's going to be an open trench install.
Yes.
We saved 100 feet of trenching and put the bathroom on the other end of the basketball court.
So what we have today.
It's kind of where it is now. I think if there's a porta potty down there or a little storage around the
So
ball
this,
line.
the sewer line's right here. We're running a lateral down this alley, and that bathroom sits right about here.
Oh, so it's already pretty close to it.
It is that right now. The problem is the drawing doesn't look like what's there today because the basketball court looks like it's right next to it, but it'll actually be more right here, and the basketball court turns because you lose parking up to about right here. So So that basketball court's actually like right here, that way.
Yeah, so it's not really closer to it than the direction it's
No,
going.
it's deceiving looking at the
Yeah,
site
it's going to
plan, what
actually
it's
come
going
from
to
the west
be.
then rather than the north.
All this concrete gets torn out, and your playground's actually like right here, this whole area. And then your shelter in that case, the bathroom's right about here, that plaza's right about here, and your shelter could go right here right now. And we could tear down Nikki's big trees.
Really
I was gonna
sad
ask
about
about that. Are we losing the trees?
The intent was those trees would be gone, yes.
But they promised that they would put some bigger evergreens to replace them somewhere else in the park so that we can still have Christmas lights. I really pushed for that.
So yeah, we could move the shelter down and then kind of adjust it there. Okay, I'll work on some of these adjustments and go from there. Did that answer your question, Dr. Burney, about the sewer line?
Yes, it's just coming from a different direction than I thought.
Yeah, it's coming down off this end, down the alley, and right into the where it's going to connect.
Yeah, I thought it was coming from the north. It was actually coming
Oh
from the
yeah,
west.
no, there's a storm sewer north-south, which is why
Yeah,
they
that's what goes up to Culver's.
they freaked us out. They came in and they showed this northern part with a giant retention pond.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're like, where did that come from? Because that would have meant we lost the baseball field, and not for any good reason other than a retention pond.
Yeah, it's like, why, there's a ditch right there.
We had to go talk to the county because we have a storm line here that doesn't have anything going to it, and our intent was always to push the storm water to that. We fixed it, but it was a stressful few moments, so. All right, I think that is all I had. Do you guys, I kind of got the impression that you liked, like we do, this stuff that will go in the middle.
Yep.
I think we all like that, and so I would love to do that in phase one. It looks like it's going to be a phase two. So what I heard is invest a little more in the bathroom. Don't need to go crazy on the playground equipment, and I think we can budget neutral this thing based on those comments. So. Thank you. I know that's a lot of work, but that's kind of the fun stuff too, in a way.
Yeah.
And Dr. Burney gave us a lot of good follow-ups on some of that stuff.
Details.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Item
One more.
Yeah.
One more. Sorry, I forgot. So I was hoping to have this ready to go. This is another one of those, the word that we're gonna do this youth sports RFP has been out. I've already received 2 proposals unsolicited, so the problem is they need to follow the RFP, so I'll have to have them adjust them, but so I'm working on completing that, but there's a couple tweaks I wanted to ask your opinion on what your vision of this is. So basically what I'm asking for is a market study, feasibility. I want to analyze 2 to 3 sites, probably 3 to be honest. We've kind of identified some sites that make some sense, but we can look at other ones, and then do some renderings, layouts, and I want them to have a meeting with our groups, our baseball, our football, lacrosse, whatever teams we have, plus the schools, sit down with them, do a needs assessment, then do a long-term and short-term budget, so construction budget, and then a ongoing maintenance and upkeep budget. So we have some costs of what this is going to run, and then a phasing. So we might not be able to build 8 baseball diamonds, but maybe we can build 4 right now with the intent that we're going to build another 4. What I don't know, what I wanted to ask you is, do we want to do an economic, fiscal, and employment impact study? I have never looked at this as everybody's doing one of these, just so you know. Like when we did Ready 2, it was the most commonly asked for thing was to do a sports park. So we're not unique by any means, but I've always looked at this as meeting the needs of a growing community. So if I need 8 ball diamonds to satisfy the need of our community, that's what I'm going to build. I'm not building Grand Park. But everybody I've talked to says you can do it either way, but if we want to host events, if we want to host tournaments, that's a different study to some way. So you're not just doing what you need, you're also doing, well, here's the economic impact of doing a slightly larger facility. But it's additional cost to do that next step of economic impact, job impact, fiscal impact of having that bigger facility. So I guess my intent was always meet the needs of the community. I'm not in this to host a bunch of attorneys. Theoretically, if we're by the Lawrence one, you could combine and add some additional fields and do some bigger tournaments. I mean, it's not crazy. But what would your intent be? Is it you want a little bigger facility? You want to be able to host events? Or is this, hey, right now we have one ball diamond?
I mean, it'd be fantastic to have a miniature Grand Park, but I don't know. I mean, that would be a big change.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, I think that's a bigger like strategic conversation, but the other part of me as a local resident says, no, I don't want all those people in my backyard.
Yeah, and the same thing, I don't know, like, where do we put them? We don't have like
Well,
the hoteling or the,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we have
the
zero
roads,
hotels.
yeah.
I don't know.
So-
That was going to be my question. Okay, we need to start thinking of.
I guess that's the point.
I don't know.
People use these as economic drivers. I've never seen it as an economic driver for
But I mean,
McCordsville.
there's nothing really around Finch Creek. I mean, I guess there's Hamilton Town Center.
Yeah,
There's some hotels there, but I mean,
that's a good point.
it's-
You
that's more indoor sports than.
I see diversity than quantity. Rather than 8 ball diamonds, I might rather see like fewer ball diamonds and then lacrosse and
Yeah.
soccer and sand volleyball and regular volleyball and
The needs
all the
assessment,
different sports.
absolutely.
There's so many sports now. I'd rather accommodate more sports than mass quantities of traditional ones.
What I wanted to get out of it was kind of maybe not that diverse, but do I need more multi-use fields? Do I need football dedicated, or can I use like a lacrosse soccer one and just stripe it differently? How many of those do I need? How can they lay out on the sites that we want? What's the capacity we could put? And then should those be grass? Should they be turf? Do we need lighting? Do we not need lighting? Those are the kind of questions I'd like to answer out of this.
So, take into consideration, let's say soccer and lacrosse. You stripe them different colors. Just what Grand Park does.
We played soccer on the baseball field.
Yeah, their baseball fields up there aren't dirt. It's all turf. So
Ugh.
you also played. We played soccer on the baseball fields.
How do baseball players like playing on all turf? That's a little weird, isn't it?
No, we like all turf. Sorry.
Gets
Yeah.
expensive.
I mean, it's. I mean,
But when you can play, so it doesn't stop you from playing if you have all turf.
Yep.
Turf is less maintenance. You don't need the diamond dry. You're not getting muddy, and from the mom's white pants perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is. Don't get me wrong. There is maintenance with turf, but I mean,
There's pros and cons to both.
Right,
You can spend a lot of money
it's-
on grass.
Yeah, it's
and
yeah,
fertilizer.
turf. I mean, you get more injuries with turf, but it's from being able to use it all the time. You don't have to.
Now, I will also tell you that one of my favorite baseball places to go for tournaments was in North Vernon, Indiana, and it was an old town park. I loved it, right? Because it was a small town, North Vernon, but the public swimming pool and the parks was right next door. It was true old school ball diamonds,
I do like
and it was just fun, right? Like it was nostalgic. Maybe it's just because I'm old, but it was one of my favorite places to go over even the Grand
I have a,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't need to get too in deep. I had some other thoughts on that. This is not my wheelhouse by any means. So, luckily, there's plenty of people that do this that are all eager to get our business.
Justin, do they have striping systems that you can just put different sports striped on the same piece of turf and change them out?
They use. Well, they don't change them out. They just use different colors.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you take a
so it's
11
color coded.
Yeah, so you take an 11v11 soccer field, full size. They'll have the standard striping for the 11v11, but you can also fit two 9v9s on the 11v11. So they just paint those,
So it's a
stripe those
multi-use
different
piece
colors.
of turf striped for
And
all
you're in
the
you're in the
sports.
outfield of the baseball field.
Yeah, and the fields that they have dedicated for soccer and lacrosse are striped just different colors.
It's
and
very cool.
the kids, you know,
Kids figure it
yeah,
out.
they figured out. You might.
I don't know if you
First
can
days
see it
is-
or not, but Fisher's High School, you can kind of see it on here. There's the lacrosse, it's blue.
Yep.
There's your soccer. It's yellow or orange. I can't tell from
Billy
here.
Ricky's another
It's all
favorite.
striped, and then football's in the middle. But you can see the lacrosse field. You can see the soccer field. They use the same field for all three, and it's striped like that the entire year.
Yeah.
Because that's
Like-
turf. They're not changing that out.
Yeah.
But that's a good example of what you can see. There's the soccer goal, is the orange right there, and then the lacrosse circles in there. And they all use that same field. So that's a good example of what you're talking about. So you build the field big enough. Soccer's huge. I don't know who wants
Yeah.
to run that much, but not me.
And then the idea of a running track around the outside is cool too, of people that want to jog,
Yeah.
want to
yeah.
watch a game
Or
or
even like
something.
Billy Ricky was a fun favorite of mine. You have the splash park out there. The kids, could go.
That's
It's like a
right.
park and baseball
Kids
all in
That's
one.
right. Well, and that's connected to the high school. That's right here. This
Right.
is
Yeah.
They do it all the time.
So yeah, they have the
Perfect.
splash pad here, they have a rental building here, parking, and you can also use the high school, but then they have Little League, softball, and / Little League. They were always intending to put, I don't know if they put it there or not. Well, they
Batting
did.
cages.
Yeah, batting cages, they finally put them in there. So yeah, I mean, there's advantages. When we look at sites, there's some things we want to think about where we can partner and stuff. But okay, I don't want to spend too much time on where. But what I'm kind of hearing is we're not as interested in the economic, fiscal, employment aspect, more so as filling the needs of our youth sports. I know the school. I did talk to the superintendent and Dr. Parker, and he's very interested in being part of this because they're looking at all their needs as well. So.
You gotta talk to the coaches.
Well, we'll talk to the coaches. Whoever the schools want to enter, and then we've had several. I know there's 2 or 3 baseball groups, and there's youth football, and I'll have to, if you know other groups that we should bring to the table. But we'll work on case site analysis, fiscal analysis, budgeting, phasing of different aspects, and we'll do some demographic work in it as well. So keep that to the scope. That'll reduce the cost of it a little bit. What I'm seeing is somewhere between $30,000 to $80,000, depending what our scope is. So, okay. I will I'll put that together and I'll circulate it so you guys can all take a look at it. And I'll just, if you kind of give me a thumbs up, I'll not an official vote or anything, but I'd like to get that out. Assuming I can get it done by the end of the week, by the end of next week at the latest, so we can start getting that back. That'll be a great first job for the new park director. Ryan and I have been joking that the park director is going to have to tolerate Ryan and I, because I'm very passionate about the parks as well and have a history, and obviously Ryan likes development, and we're building a lot of new parks from scratch, so we're going to meddle in this person's business way too much. But it'll also be nice to have that relief valve to let them run with a lot of this, whoever we end
You
up
can be
hiring.
the creative, and they can go do it.
Yep, it'll be great. All right, I will tighten up my youth sports RFP. I'll circulate it to this board, and once we get comments back, we'll tighten it up and ship it out.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Public comment? Okay. Next meeting, May 13th.
All right.
And if we're good, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.